This is an Xbox controller, and this is a PlayStation DualSense controller for the PS5. If you're up to speed on modern console gaming, you probably know that already, and you probably have one or the other. Throw in the Nintendo Joy-Cons too, and you have the three most notable video game controllers in the world right now. Video game controllers come in all shapes and sizes, colours and variations, more so when you branch out into the third-party offerings as well. When you buy a console, whether it be an Xbox Series or a PlayStation 5 or a Nintendo Switch, it comes with one controller. The Nintendo Switch is a fun console though, so it technically has two controllers, which can be merged into one. If, however, you break a controller or you want to play games with a friend at home, then you're in a bit of a conundrum. Break it and your warranty might cover a replacement, but if it doesn't, you need to go out and buy a new controller. It's always handy to have a spare on the side anyway. The problem is that the additional controllers can cost you a pretty penny or two. As of recording, a PlayStation 5 DualSense controller costs £60 GBP from game.co.uk and $70 in the US from bestbuy.com. An Xbox controller costs £55 and $60 respectively, and a Switch Pro controller, the closest equivalent to the Switch has to those, costs £65 and $70. The Joy-Cons for the Switch cost £70 and $80 for a pair. Without diving into the how and why of it all, that seems like a lot, especially when you compare the price of the controllers to the prices of the games you'll be playing. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 on PS5 costs £70 and $70, Halo Infinite on Xbox costs £55 and $60, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom costs £55 and $70. That means that with a few exceptions, the average gaming controller costs the same amount as a video game. Sometimes more. If you subscribe to the idea of money per hour or simply getting your money's worth out of something, the value of a gaming controller shoots up. Using Spider-Man 2 as an example, HowLongToBeat.com says it takes on average 22.5 hours to beat. Unless you're abusing your controller or you're simply unlucky with your controller, that means your controller has a longer life than the game itself. I bought my PS5 on day one in 2020, and I still use the same controller that came with it. No problems whatsoever 4 years later. I've since played hundreds of games for hundreds of hours. The controller might cost as much as a single purchase, but it lasts, and it may in fact be a very worthwhile long-term investment. The same applies for the Xbox consoles and Nintendo consoles. The Nintendo Joy-Cons, however, do have a history of stick drift. After a while, a lining beneath the analog stick starts to dent and wear, becoming very inaccurate and highly sensitive. The result is that your on-screen character or camera can continue to move and shift without your input. It's annoying, and when you pay a lot of money for the controller, you'd rather it didn't have a defect like that built into it. It's become such a problem that in some regions Nintendo now fixes or replaces defective Joy-Cons free of charge. This happened to me a few years back, and it's not exclusive to Nintendo controllers either, just a little more prevalent. The PS5 controllers also suffer from this at times. So, controllers usually last a long time, making the initial price of them a worthwhile one. But why do controllers have that price to begin with? Obviously, capitalism. Nobody wants to simply give something away, they want to make money off it. Historically, large companies like Sony and Microsoft have sold their consoles at a loss. The Xbox, for example, sells for less than the sum of its components and manufacturing. That means that Microsoft and other console developers rely on games, software, and accessories to recoup their losses and turn a profit. Plus, the addition of services like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. TechJewelry.net claims that a PlayStation 5 console costs approximately $500 to manufacture, which is the same price that it sells for right now, 4 years later when those parts and pieces have no doubt decreased in value. The price of branded accessories and games continues to rise because of this. games especially are becoming harder and longer to make, so the price at retail must go up for them to turn a profit in the long run. When you look at some of the third-party controllers on offer, their prices are often either much less than the branded ones or much more, despite being made with similar materials and components. This suggests that at least some part of the price is due to the branding and naming of the controllers. So, assuming that the controllers are selling for a significantly higher price than what they were made for, if that selling price was less, would they sell more than they already are? Possibly, but we are now venturing into pure speculatory territory. Video game controllers are an essential part of modern gaming. You cannot play the latest games or consoles without one. And the console manufacturers, they know this. They also know that no matter the price they sell these controllers for, they're going to sell because it's easier and more reliable to buy a branded, familiar controller than any of the third-party ones which are on offer. Not to say that the third-party offerings are worse in comparison. Sometimes they're better. There are also the features to consider. As gaming becomes more and more advanced and experimental, more features are put into the controllers on offer, like microphones, gyroscopic abilities, vibrations, and more. These are not cheap features, and they increase the price of the controllers. The Nintendo Joy-Cons, for example, used gyroscopic and vibration tech from a third-party company, meaning that every Joy-Con manufactured had to share the profits between the two companies. The same goes for the DualSense controller. It's great to see these companies collaborating on tech to improve immersion into gaming worlds, but it does come at a cost. This video is all about the first-party offerings though, but if we briefly expand to third-party offerings, they can either be much cheaper, as I've already mentioned, or way more expensive because that's what they're going for sometimes. There are controllers out there with even more features, even more bells and whistles, even more advancements, and that makes them even more expensive. In short, this means you essentially get what you pay for. Are they too expensive? It's a bit of a cop-out answer, yes and no. Yes, because they can be, and they need to be for these companies to make their money. No, because if you treat them well and handle them well, these controllers will last a long time, and you'll get way more than your money's worth for them in the long run. Also no, because the tech and abilities of these controllers is constantly improving and advancing, boosting the manufacturing costs and demands of all who are involved in making them. And clearly, people are still buying them. So why would they change the price if the desire and need is still high enough? Where they really get you is when they try and sell additional controllers that are exactly the same as the original one, but with a new colour. That, of course, that's on us, and not them. Do we really need that new fancy red controller? Well, if the price is right.